I want to start this episode with a moment. So, not too long ago, I was in Dubai in the middle of a photo shoot. So, you can envision lights, cameras, this full creative crew all around me. And my 5 year old son is there with me, circling me on his Paw Patrol bike, completely unbothered and completely at home in the world that I had created there. Later that night, I went to dinner with dear friends at this beautiful Michelin-starred restaurant overlooking the city, and the conversation was joyful, the room was beautiful, the energy was expansive, and my son was right there with us, listening, observing, soaking it all in. And throughout this experience, I had this realization that we've been taught that we have to choose between being a deeply present mom and a wildly expressed woman. Choose between building something extraordinary and being there for bedtime. Choosing between impact and intimacy. But standing there in that moment, watching my son be so immersed in my life while I fully stepped into mine, I felt something click. And it was that my expansion wasn't taking away from him, it was actually expanding him. And so today, I want to talk about that. Because I know that there are women and men listening, and you very well may be one of them, who quietly believe that if you pursue your next level, that it's going to cost you something at home, either connection, closeness, or security. But today I want to invite, what if the opposite is actually true? What if your courage to express fully who you are is the very thing that's going to create safety, strength, and possibility for everyone around you? Becoming a mom didn't limit my vision, it expanded it. And today we are going to talk about why. So, here's one of the things that I hear again and again from those in the community that I work with and lead, from people on social media, is that whether we say it out loud or not, many and probably most high achievers carry this quiet fear that success is going to cost us something at home. And there's this cultural narrative that says that you have to choose. And this is subtle, but it shows up everywhere. It can be the underlying belief that if you're ambitious, you're selfish. Or if you're successful, your kids will suffer. And maybe you saw that modeled growing up. Maybe you had that experience growing up that you had a quote unquote successful parent and you felt like you suffered. You didn't get the time, attention, or energy that you needed. So you built in that belief that if I'm too successful, my kids will suffer. Or if you're deeply present, you can't also be powerful in your business. Maybe if you want impact and to step onto the world stage in a bigger way, then your intimacy will decrease. Or if you grow, you'll grow away from the people who you love. And this is pervasive. And this is one of the things that I had to look at in my own life that I wasn't aware actually kept me upper limiting, kept me at a certain level of success, but not able to go beyond because I had some deep beliefs that if I became quote unquote too successful, if I hit a certain revenue mark, if my company expanded to a certain level, it was going to cost me love and joy at home. It was going to impact my deepest relationships. And so, this is where, when I'm working with clients on money and removing money blocks, it's never about the money. It's always about what the money actually means for you. And oftentimes, there's a deeper fear associated with making more money that if I do, I'm going to fill in the blanks, shatter things at home, have projection from my partner, from my family. And your subconscious is like, I don't want that. I don't want to deal with that. So let's just stay where we are because we at least know that this is safe and we know that we can keep our relationships intact at this level. And so these beliefs, like I said, they're subtle, but they show up in a lot of different ways, whether mom guilt, overcompensating. Do you downplay your success? By the way, all of these things that I'm sharing with you are things I've experienced as well. So I don't want you to think that I'm sitting here saying I've figured it all out. I am coming to you as a woman who is actively on this journey with you. Do you ever hide your ambition or not talk about it? I remember the moment I hit 2 million in sales for the first time. the only person I told was my son. And I've never shared that publicly before. But it was interesting because there was this part of me that was really afraid of what it could do to different relationships in my life. And so, do you hide your ambition? Do you downplay your success? Do you maybe apologize for your drive? Or do you say, "I'm just," before sharing your accomplishments? Like, sometimes I'll hear people say, like, "Oh, this is my little business," or "Let me pop you over a little proposal for this," or "I'm just gonna send you this." No, not "I'm just," right? I am. We wanna practice taking up space and owning it, and so I have coached, and here's what I wanna say, this applies to both men and women, this is not just for women. I've coached brilliant women who believe deep down, maybe not even consciously, that the moment their business takes off, their connection at home is gonna suffer, and that's part of why I think that this message and what I feel a deep part of my purpose is to do at this point in my life is to really share and demonstrate and model especially for the women out there, what it's like to have a wildly successful business while also being a present mom, being able to be there for your kids, but doing it your own way, showing up your own way. Sometimes I hear from women, and I was even chatting with one in our community not too long ago, actually several, not too long ago, who had seen some of what I had shared about my recent trip to Dubai and the TEDx that I did there, where they said, "I'd never given myself permission to think about traveling like that with my kids or traveling for speaking gigs, but oh my gosh, this just opened up a world of possibility." So maybe you've been afraid to say yes to certain speaking gigs. I see women sometimes afraid to hire support because of what it means for them and their family, the shift in relational roles. Women who hit income ceilings subconsciously, this happens all the time. And we've got a ton of resources in our community specifically about breaking through those. So if you feel like you're ready to really break through your next income threshold, reach out to my team, elisearcher.com/free call to book a time to chat. And we'll talk through how we can help you break through that plateau. Or women who sabotage growth right when that momentum builds. I've also coached really incredible men, powerful men who don't realize that deep down they're afraid that scaling their company or achieving a certain level of business success is going to distance themselves from their kids or their partner. And so they actually stop. They always get to a certain level and then they stop. So the fear isn't irrational, but it's inherited. This is where we have to look at generationally, what have we been taught in terms of what success is going to cost you? And what have we been taught in terms of maybe like stay in your lane, or women need to be only in the home, or if you're successful at work, it's gonna require cutting off your connection with your kids, or if you're a super successful man in business, you can't also be, like, deeply devoted to your wife and your partner. So these things are inherited, and we see them sometimes modeled and expressed by our parents. Some of them are generational, and we carry these things we carry beliefs and experiences from our ancestors, in our DNA, in the, neurochemistry of our brain, and so some of the things and the fears that you're experiencing about success and about really expanding as both a parent and in your business, I wanna just tell you, they may not even be yours from lived experience, but you may have picked up on them and inherited them, and you can clear them. This is the power of this work. And so, this belief, if you hold on to a belief that I cannot have the home, the family life that I'm craving, and be the type of parent, mom, dad, partner, etcetera, who I deeply wanna be, and also be extremely successful in my business, it doesn't just limit your income, it limits your identity as well. Because if you believe that you must choose between those 2, you're gonna cap your revenue, you'll cap your leadership, you'll cap your expression, and you cap your expansion. And so becoming a mom really almost forced me to confront this belief head on and to do the work to clear a lot of this. And again, I just want to underpin all of this with I am on this journey with you. So nothing that I'm sharing with you today am I saying, "Oh my gosh, I've completely got it." I think a lot of this I've shifted and moved in my life and I feel like I've made a lot of progress here, but this is my own personal journey as well. And so I wanna say that because I think that if this ever comes across like a soapbox, like I'm telling you, I've got it all figured out and I know, like, no, it's not the case. But I do care deeply about this journey in my own life and also supporting you in your expansion. If there's any part of you that maybe didn't see modeled growing up, maybe a mom or a dad who was having the type of business success that you desire in your life, while also demonstrating and modeling what to you feels right when it comes to parenting and family, then you're playing by rules and you have a blueprint in your mind of what success does or doesn't look like that's not actually gonna serve you. These rules weren't actually made by you, and they're not gonna support you in your next level, so you have to start to reimagine and repattern everything and what it's gonna take for you to successfully step into your own version, your own definition of full expansion, support, and expression in all areas of your life. So, let's talk a little bit about the identity shift here. And I'm going to talk about motherhood because I'm a mom, but I know we have a lot of men listening. So this applies to dads out there too. I want to just make that very, very clear. Whatever your relationship is with being a parent and desiring to be a parent, seeing that somewhere in your future, this is for you. All right. So, one of the things that I have really come to the realization of in my life is that when you grow, your children also grow. All right. And I shared this a bit in, oh my gosh, I think it was the first issue we did of She Sells magazine. And by the way, that's a totally free magazine that we do. If you want to get a copy, DM me. I'm at Elyse Archer on all social, and my team will share with you how you can get your free copy. But it's beautiful. And we have a section in there called Motherhood and Mission. And one of the things that I got to really shift in my life was my definition of success as a mom. I grew up with an incredible stay-at-home mom who literally, I don't know if I wanna say gave up, but she chose to pursue being a full-time mom over the career and academic passions and ambitions she had had. And I am deeply grateful for everything that she did for us because she poured all of her energy into us for decades and continues to do so. And I was never a woman who actually I think that a lot of especially women I talk to out there. So I hear from them, I just knew I was gonna be a mom, like, from the age of being a little girl, I knew it. I didn't. That wasn't my personal knowing growing up. I was selling things door to door by age, like, 4, I believe it was. I was always thinking about how I could grow something, build something, expand something. I was entrepreneurial to the bone from the minute I was born. And so for me, I always knew that my path was gonna be in business and success in that way, but I didn't have that deep drive to be a mom, and it actually wasn't until we miscarried our first child, our first baby, our first pregnancy, that I knew deep down I wanted to be a mom. So, where I created a lot of friction early on and where I got to have a lot of growth was in having a subconscious blueprint that the only successful way or the only way I could be successful as a mom was gonna be to parent and raise my kids the way my mom did, which required all of my time, all of my energy, which looked like me doing all of it. And that doesn't mix with I'm also running a successful, thriving business. The two, they're not the same path. And so I experienced things like mom guilt, a lot of questioning myself because the rules I had created for success were based on the path that my mother took, which was the right path for her, but not necessarily the perfect path for me, if that makes sense. So I had to really redefine success as a mom and as a parent. And for me, what I've decided it is, and I want to invite you to really make your own rules here, but for me, it's creating a space and a container and a home environment and an energy where my children can expand into the fullest version of themselves, whatever that looks like for them. And that's gonna be different for each of my kids. I'm a mom of 3 now. So that's gonna be different for each of my kids. But when we redefine success, and if you haven't stopped to actually create your own definition of success as a parent, I want to invite you to do that today and do it also with your partner if you're doing this with a partner, because I think that that changes everything. Children will model what's normalized, what's possible, and what's safe. And if you create the container that supports your own expansion and growth while simultaneously defines success for you as a parent in the way that feels right to you, then that's going to create safety for your kids to also expand. So if your kids see you shrinking, right? They're going to learn shrinking. If they see you apologizing, and this was something I really learned growing up, I picked up on the energy of apologizing for almost everything, and that was something I had to unlearn, and I did that energetically. I would do that when I asked for things. Ooh, so I really learned that one growing up, and I got to shift that, and I think I think I'm maybe 90% of the way there from unlearning that and shifting that. I think there's always another level as we expand to just learn to take up more space and be even more unapologetic, yet still gracious with what we're asking for. But I definitely learned that. And if you feel like you have to apologize for what you want, for taking up space, your kids learn that too. Or if children see a parent suppressing their dreams, they learn to do the same. But if they see you embodying courage, expression, wealth without shame, purpose lived out loud, then they internalize expansion. And so, your children seeing perhaps things like global travel, visionary rooms, or ambition and drive and success normalized, then they create that as a norm, as something that's safe for them in their nervous system as well. And so I'll share just a little bit more about this experience in Dubai because it really was for me a part of me wanted to say a capstone moment, like a pillar moment, but I'm also normalizing it that it's normal. Now I want to acknowledge as I record this that the global and political climate in Dubai is very different than it was when we were there. And I feel very, very um, grateful that with the timing of our trip, we were able to leave about a week before everything happened. And I also have a lot of heartfelt love and sympathy for everyone who is there presently undergoing what they are going. So I don't want to not acknowledge this. It's an interesting thing to be sharing because it felt like such a peak experience while we were there and everything felt so beautiful. And if you were listening to this in real time, then you know that there is a lot the city is being ravaged in many ways with a lot of heartfelt sympathy and compassion and love for everyone there. What I will share is what my experience was like when we were there because it was truly beautiful. It was truly incredible. And I had I had been affirming because I had felt this unfolding start to happen after the birth of my third child about a year ago, our daughter Ella. When I really tuned into what was next, I kept hearing world thought leader, global thought leader. Now, when that thought came through, first, my imposter syndrome brain was like, "What are you talking about? Who are you to say that?" And what I have learned, if I've learned nothing else in this work, it is that that very thing that stirs your soul, that feels like, "Oh my gosh," like almost too good to be true, or like the biggest, most expansive vision of your life, that is your soul pointing you to what you're meant to do. Doesn't matter what the thoughts say, it doesn't matter what the limiting beliefs say, that is your divine design, your expression, and so when that started coming through, I started imagining, what would it be like to travel the world with my kids, to have an amazing travel team, travel nanny who travels with us so that I can take them on peak experiences and expose them to things like speaking on different stages or different cultures and just really expand their paradigm of what's normal. And so when this trip came together and I was offered the TEDx in Dubai, which was such a beautiful moment because it happened very organically and very easily and very naturally. After years prior, I thought I had to really push to get one, and I had been in that energy. And then I was like, I'm releasing it, I'm letting it go. And then, of course, it came in. I was able to do this trip, bring along a dear friend of mine who was also our nanny for our oldest son when he was younger and fly her up from North Carolina and then take her with us on the entire trip to help with my 5-year-old so that he could be there, and she managed all the logistics so that I could be fully present in the moment with the trip and then with the talk. It was so beautiful, and seeing my 5-year-old Jack on that trip, I think that was probably my favorite part. seeing him fly Emirates and the way that they treat you like royalty and like luxury on that airline, it was beautiful. Taking him out to this beautiful Michelin star restaurant where you're overlooking the city, and it was on the 54th floor of this beautiful, beautiful tall building. It was a little chilly outside, so they bring you like a blanket to wrap yourself in. It was probably a 3 or 4-hour dinner experience. I was laughing with some of my, community because it helped me expand my own wealth consciousness because I was treating my friend and his mom and then my friend and Jack to dinner that night, and so I was telling my community about this because it made me laugh. I was treating everyone to dinner, and we got towards the end of the evening, and I wasn't really paying much attention to what we were spending, but I knew it was a nice meal, and, I think we had probably spent 6 or $700 at that point for the 5 of us, and our server comes up and he pulls my friend aside because he thought my friend was the one paying, and he's like, "Excuse me, sir, I'm so sorry, but you haven't met the minimum yet for your dinner order. Can I get you something else?" And so in that moment, it was a beautiful moment for me because I got to expand my wealth consciousness of what's normal. Like, oh, a six or $700 dinner that doesn't even meet the minimum. Okay, let's recalibrate. Let's think differently. But having Jack there with us too, he brought his little Hot Wheels trucks and he like gave everyone a Hot Wheels to play with at dinner, all of the adults, and he set up a little ramp for them. He was just so immersed in it and it helped him expand so much in that moment. And I think the most beautiful thing that I want to bring to you here today is on the trip and afterwards, there were so many beautiful messages from particularly women in the community who said, "Thank you for showing that. Thank you for modeling that, that I can expand. I can travel the world. I can speak on different stages. I'm also feeling the call for much greater thought leadership, expansion, wealth, abundance, stepping up in my business. And I now see that it's possible for me to do this with my kids too." And I didn't realize so many women were gonna be watching in that, but it was a beautiful moment for me of, "Oh my gosh, we get to teach the most by lived experience," and what was an expansive moment for me where I got to really integrate more parts of myself as a mom, as a thought leader, also helped others expand as well. And so every time you say yes to what's calling you, every time you think of the "and," which is very feminine energy, masculine energy tends to be either or, feminine is "and," how can we do this and this? You shift, you expand, and you change patterning for your kids and for their kids down the road as well. So, I wanna just invite you to reflect on a few questions here to help you really expand your sense of being able to grow in your business while also creating safety for yourself and for your family at home. So just notice number one, where am I currently using my family or my kids as a socially acceptable excuse? It's so easy to do it, right? Oh, I can't do it because of the kids. I can't do it because of the family. Where am I actually deep down hiding behind that excuse? The second thing I want to invite you to, what dream am I delaying until my kids are older? And I want you to really think about that one. That was actually the moment my entire life changed was when my first son was 4 months old, and I realized how much I had said, "Oh, well, okay, I've gotta pause or I've gotta kind of just be status quo in my business right now." And then I had a dear friend of mine pass away at age 39. I was reading a book by Bronnie Ware, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying, and really just noticing how much I was doing what I now call putting my life on layaway, saying, when this happens, when I'm not a mom of a young kid, when the stars align, then I'll go for it. And I realized there's never going to be a perfect time. And if I was using being a mom as an excuse to not go for what I really wanted to go for, I was doing not just myself a disservice, but I was doing him a disservice as well. And the final thing I want to invite you to is what would expansion look like that includes my family instead of excluding them, instead of thinking it's either or? So let's talk about some practical shifts that you can integrate here. And you can do these a step at a time. It doesn't have to be all at once, but I want you to kind of go to the edge of where you currently feel safe, where you currently feel like it's okay to do this, and push, just work on pushing your limits a little bit here to help yourself establish nervous system safety and identity safety in your expansion. So these could look like things like, number one, speaking your vision out loud at the dinner table. So what does that look like? And I have a lot of fun with this with my kids. We'll talk about, and look, they're 5, 3, and not even 1 year old. So this is, it's a very simple conversation, but I want to try to ingrain them with this as early on as I can, to talk about vision, to talk about goals, to talk about what we're creating. So my 5-year-old is currently helping me because we are manifesting. We're manifesting a G-Wagon together. We're manifesting a swimming pool in the backyard together. And it's so fun because I'll get him caught up in the vision with me. And then we'll talk about what it is that he wants to create, like a swing set, a trip of some sort, and we'll talk about it. I talk about the process of manifesting your dreams and your vision with him, and we talk about setting a vision and tuning into what you would really love without needing to know the how. We talk about feeling like it's already done. We talk about the power of our words, and then also gratitude and feeling like it's already happened. So, I think that's one thing you can do, and kids get it. They understand it. Like, he is such a natural manifester, and he'll correct me. I'll say something in the future tense. I'll say, "Oh, I can't wait till we're doing this." And he's like, "Mom, we're already doing it. Why are you talking it like we're already in the swimming pool? Why are you saying this hasn't happened yet? It's already happened." It's so beautiful. So kids get it. Let your kids see you working on something meaningful. When we set up our office in downtown Portland here on the waterfront, I brought my kids in for that. I wanted them to see what it was like to set up that office, and they helped, and they're part of it. Share wins, share things you're going through. You can share some of your, if when I share, I don't even like to use the word necessarily challenges, but like places where we're growing. I will share a modified version. Hey, mommy got to grow today. I bumped up against this. Do you ever feel like that? You want to talk about it? So that piece can be really big, letting them see you grow through the process. Also, bring them into certain environments when appropriate. I love Joe Dispenza's work, and I think it's so powerful when I see kids there. That's actually a vision and a goal of mine, is to bring our kids to one of those retreats, because that, I think, is some of the most beautiful work you can do, and bringing them into that energy, or maybe bringing them to an event you're going to, or just bringing them along on business travel. I do that a lot with my kids whenever I can, because I think that models and demonstrates that you can have both. Normalizing ambition, or stop hiding your success, right? Talk about your wins. I spoke about this yesterday in front of my kids and my partner, where we hit a new revenue milestone. And I said, "Hey, guess what? I want to celebrate this." And it was really cool. And then my 5-year-old son said, "Hey, mom, do you think you could bump up your clients by this amount in this amount of time?" And I was like, "Yes, let's talk about doing it. How fun would that be?" So they have really learned that mommy works, and mommy loves them when she works, and mommy is also there and present as a mom. And it's just been a beautiful journey. And again, I am always growing in these places. I am always growing as a mother. It is not perfect by any means, but I just wanted to share with you some of the belief systems specifically that I've created around both being a mom and being a CEO, that I hope help you and support you in your journey. So, with that, I want to invite you, as we close, to really look at what would it look like to give myself permission to expand, and to let my family rise up with me, and to make it a shared journey as well. I want to thank you for being a listener. It would be so meaningful to me, to my entire team, if you would share this episode with a parent who's also leading the way in business or in entrepreneurship. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's next. And in closing, I just want to remind you to trust yourself on your path to success. Remember that your desires are green lights leading you and everyone around you to a brighter future. I'll see you on our next episode.